Well, welcome to the beginning of the week. I imagine it's the beginning of the week wherever you are, or you're already into the week. So, welcome to our Loops and Scoops, where we move from distraction to presence, from fear to presence. And the big move is that we can use our attention to do all of that. The power of our attention, the power of how we direct our attention. I was just thinking as I was preparing for today, I was getting into I was getting ready, and I was remembering that in our one of my classes last week, a person very seriously, I mean, kind of very seriously, asked me, "Well, what's the point? What's the point of loop of awareness?" And my first response was to just feel kind of sad, like, because we'd been practicing, and I thought, whoa, there's such a disconnect here that he's not already feeling, experiencing the power of loop of awareness. And so I was really considering, well, what is the point? And the point for me for all of these years is the incredible power of our awareness to include, to connect. So to connect in here, to connect with myself, so I get the nourishment of connection, and also to connect out here, to receive the basic fuel of attention. And so I'd like you to just take a moment and kind of assess where your reservoir is right now in terms of how empty, how full, just of your sense of well-being and presence, and being able to enjoy the being alive, being able to enjoy looking at colors and noticing the shapes and noticing the beauty of the world around you. So just assess where that is for you right now, because there's another aspect of that. In fact, there are a couple that I was thinking of. One is that we're usually taught to pay attention. And so we've narrowed the nourishment of attention into something that's very specific and usually has some kind of judgment behind it, or some kind of, you're doing something wrong, so do something different. So a lot of people, when we hear, pay attention, we think, uh-oh, and kind of go back into a fear state. So let yourself notice your response. If I say, come on now, pay attention, notice what happens to you. I stop breathing. I kind of go, I have a little freeze that happens, and my eyes kind of go wide, and I lose any sense of, well, why was I even asking for that? Why should I even bother? And I kind of lose myself in that. And so imagine hearing that, dozens, hundreds, thousands of times, and then not even just hearing it, but like the look that's saying, you're not paying attention, or when I'm speaking, you need to pay attention to me. All of those ways that narrow our attention and actually kind of turn off the faucet of the nourishment of attention. So the other image that I was thinking of is, I love to write with a fountain pen, and I have a lovely fountain pen, but I'm left-handed. And so those of you who may not know, we lefties, we end up with ink on the inside of our hands and on our fingers. So despite that, I've learned how to sort of write with my hand elevated, so that I'm, because I love the flow of the fountain pen. And occasionally, if I let the fountain pen stop in any location, it spreads out. So the ink gets absorbed. And I was just thinking about how permeable we are to having attention be absorbed. So I'd like you to think about, are you more like the piece of paper that you start writing on it, and it doesn't register, the ink won't even land, to like a Kleenex, where if you put a fountain pen on a Kleenex, it just will drain all of the ink in the pen? So I want to look at our permeability, which we sometimes call your ability to receive. So the act of loop of awareness is simply shifting your attention. Because one of the things that happens if someone says pay attention, my attention goes out and it kind of gets fixed out because that's what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to get in trouble if I don't. And so simply shifting my attention to me, giving my attention. So I'd like to have you experiment with a couple of different things. First, I'd like you to pay attention. So pay attention to something out there and then pay attention to something in you. And I'd like you to notice the sensations, the point of view, the wideness or the narrowness of your perception when you're paying attention. So, key things for me is that I don't breathe as much and I don't let my body move as much. So, I want you to add in now shifting from paying attention to giving your attention. And I'd like you to give your attention to something outside here, and then give your attention to something going on inside you. And I love what I see some of you doing of letting your body respond to that. Because part of how culture controls us is by controlling our movement. Stand in lines, stop talking, be quiet, don't touch your neighbor, line up, all of those ways in which our movement is controlled as we're growing up, and we keep those habits. So when you give your attention, I'd like you to just simply shift and let your body respond to what you're noticing. And then giving your attention to some other new place in you and letting yourself notice, are you receiving your own attention? One of my habits was my attention to me would bounce off. I would give far more attention out here than I would in here. So I'd like you to notice for you, do you give more attention out here and maybe even get caught out here? And then what happens when you give attention to you? Because part of what I want to open for all of us is our ability to receive, to let attention absorb, because just like rain, just like the water we drink, attention can be absorbed and make our experience of life juicier. So I notice when I receive attention, there's any kind of stiffness or sharpness in me starts to dissolve. I kind of go into the fear melter of oozing. Oozing or gentle wiggling because things are opening inside. So let yourself experiment with giving your attention out here and then giving your attention to some new place and letting your attention rest on the place that you're noticing until you actually experience yourself absorbing. What assists you absorbing, receiving? For me, very simply, if I open my breathing and I open my posture and I let my body respond, I'm unfreezing myself from, I think we're in a social freeze most of the time, either a social freeze or a social faint. And so the moment that I just choose to start moving, giving myself the permission to let my body respond, adding in spontaneity, adding in giving my body a chance to add all of my body wisdom. So I'm noticing lots more action going on, as I'm looking at all of you. And one of the benefits of sharing this in community is that you might see somebody doing something that looks really cool to you, or it looks interesting, or it might even look a little scary, like, I couldn't possibly do that. That means you're being drawn to it, but you're also a little scared of receiving that much juiciness. So part of this also is how much juiciness, aliveness, the flow of energy am I willing to experience today? So even if it feels a little, ooh, it just sounds a little iffy, you don't quite trust what's going on, if you could let yourself make just a small movement, it might even be like your toes. You start letting your toes move how they might want to move. And you simply add that into giving your attention out here. Generally, I think when we give our attention out, we tend to get more frozen. So when you give your attention out, you can also let your body respond to, oh, like I'm looking at, there was this bright light coming across one of the leaves, and my body went, oh, whoa. So letting yourself respond to what you're noticing includes so much more of your body wisdom. And then giving your attention. And then when you get stuck, which you will, all of the different things that happen, all of the unexpected, the stresses and whatnot that happen during the day, I like to return to, am I paying attention right now or am I giving attention? And I like to shift to richly giving, because we have giving maybe associated with kind of stinginess, or I don't deserve attention. I have to do something to earn attention. That's how it worked in my family, was that you had to do something memorable to get to get attention. But as I did lots of memorable things, like I did really well in school and I was always super responsible, I realized that, hey, my brothers who were more squeaky wheels tended to get more attention. I thought, wait a minute, this, I've been sold a bill of goods that doesn't actually work. So you might notice what rules you have about or have learned about giving and receiving attention. And I'd like you to let yourself just gently release those in favor of how much love and attention can I give and receive today and this week? And opening any little spaces in you that are feeling a little dry, that where the attention kind of runs off because you have a drought in that area of you, and seeing if you'd be willing to just respond to how your body can open more space for receiving. And the simple ways to do that are to move something that hasn't been moving and to breathe into an area where you're giving your attention. Let your breath go to where your attention is. So just those simple things actually unlock the logjam of attention. They do for me, and I imagine that they will for you also. And then what that starts to come into for me is that I want to bring in and attention from the things I'm noticing out here, and I can incorporate that, like the beauty of these flowers. You can't smell them. I want you to imagine that they're the most delicious, spicy, fragrant that you've ever experienced, and taking that in and giving that to any place in you that wants more nourishment. So love scoops are really your declaration of, I want to be here. I'm going to be here. I'm ready to receive love. I'm not going to just wait for it to come to me. I'm going to say, hey, I'm ready. I'm wanting more love and attention. Several years ago, in fact, many years ago, I had a big energetic experience with some friends of mine in Europe. And at one point, the woman leaned over to me. I was very, very altered at the moment. She said, do you want to be here? Do you want to be here? And I said, yes, I want to be here. So my sense is that love scoops are, yes, I want to be here. I'm going to be here giving and receiving love, giving and receiving awareness and attention, and letting yourself take that to any place in you that who's maybe feeling a little wobbly this morning or depleted, and then letting your body respond. Ah, wonderful. I'm noticing we're at 9:15, which is the other thing I notice when I'm really enjoying. Time just disappears. And that's an Einsteinian principle, as we know. If you're in time, there's no space. But if you're in space and really enjoying space, time becomes very, very malleable. So I appreciate you sharing space with me this morning. And I'm going to shift now to our Presence Connect play and see what it's got for us today. Ah, presence. This will be a great thing to take into the week. So the presence is essence pace, to be aware of you and aware of others. It's kind of like what we were doing with our loop of awareness, is giving attention out here and giving attention in here. And essence pace allows you to take that into action in the week, particularly with the way that you're moving. Your pace of life is something that you actually can choose. And we have a lot of videos about essence pace on the Foundation for Conscious Living website, which I encourage you to go and look at. But basically, essence pace is moving in that sweet spot or that sweet range where you can be aware of what's going on around you and aware of you. And the deliciousness of having both of those has lots and lots of benefits, which I'll let you discover. But for me, during the course of a day, doing essence pace is a very effective way of presencing myself while I'm in action. It's different for like we're sitting or you're meditating and you get present, but then when you go into your day, I think, any meditation practitioner is going to tell you how quickly you can lose that in the action of the day. And so I find that essence pace is a kind of a daily meditation for me, in that I can keep finding, if I go a little bit faster, I start bumping into things. If I go a little bit slower, I forget what I'm supposed to be doing. But if I'm going at my essence pace, I get nourished by what's going on around me, and I can receive that. And I find that my timing is much better. So like the timing of when I choose to make a call, or when I go outside, or when I'm, looking to see what do I want to do today, my timing, my noticing what's possible really gets accelerated. So there are all kinds of benefits for essence pace. But particularly if you have a decision that you need to make this week, or you're wanting to make something that you're wanting to resolve, or some project, some next step, let yourself get into your essence pace and then think about it. It'll give you so much more richness in your discovery. So it's one of my favorite moves. And Connect says, receive communication with open posture and breath. So almost always, particularly if somebody, there's any kind of tension, there's a tendency that we have to close and protect ourselves. But that keeps us from actually connecting both in here and with others. And so the simple opening posture and opening your breath. What I like to add to that also is turning toward. Because Gay and I used to have this habit of, we would start talking to each other when the other was leaving the room. And so I'd find, like, it actually happened again this morning. I was halfway into the kitchen, I heard Gay talking, and I thought, what is he? I said, wait a minute, I can't hear you. So that sense of we miss each other when we're not actually turning toward. So that, it sounds very, very simple, and it is very simple, but it's also very effective. And then play is let go of idea, thought, issue. So I actually did a Big Leap bridge class on this just last week, on the radical art of letting go. And Michelle, is that going to be going up on the Big Leap? Do people know that they can go to Mighty Networks and view things like this?
Super. Yep. Yeah, I put an invitation. I'll put it in again in case you popped on late. But you can join the Mighty Networks. That's the best place to find all the
Yeah,
links to
all
the
of these different
recordings
resources.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. So Presence, Connect, Play. The reason I have this as an app and have been focusing on it is that Presence, Connect, Play provides us a totally new structure for moving through life. The structure that most of us have learned is what we call the drama triangle of the hero, victim, villain. Either poor me, poor you, or screw you, which is where most people run around. And what I really want to offer to people is that when I presence myself and I connect, there's always a little collaboration, some kind of play that wants to happen. And especially if I let go of my expectation, particularly my expectation. In fact, one of a really great singer-songwriter that we know, it's actually sung for us, Ray Wiley Hubbard, has this great phrase that he uses. And it is, if at the end of the day, my gratitude has exceeded my expectations, I know it's a great day. So for me, gratitude is the result of giving attention, because then I notice just the awesomeness of being live. And then that fuels me rather than the fuel of adrenaline. So I appreciate your being here and sharing space with me and today. And I invite you to stay and converse and share. But I am going to take my leave now and look forward to seeing you next time. Mwah! Take care.